Hello everyone. We will learn today about modeling inventory models or inventory control policies. We know that there would be mainly two main inventory control policies. One is periodic inventory review policy and one is continuous inventory review policy. The periodic inventory review policies are where the replenishment of inventory happens at a regular interval. The quantity to replenish may be constant or may be replenished till a target inventory. However, the time period is fixed. For a continuous review inventory policy, the time period is not constant. It varies based on if the inventory is falling below a certain threshold. For the continuous review policy, also the inventory, the quantity to be replenished may be constant or may vary. If it varies, then it is a target inventory based replenishment where the replenishment will happen till a target level. So the order quantity is a fixed quantity that we would replenish based on the fixed order quantity inventory models. So we will see how to model these type of inventory policies in AnyLogic. So we create a model. We have a parameter for the constant order quantity. We define a parameter of demand. We define an inventory and we define an event which generates the order. So what happens is that it checks that inventory is depleted based on the demand being satisfied. There would be an initial inventory, and then the check would be that if inventory is below a certain threshold or maybe is equals to 0, then the inventory is replenished with a certain quantity. In this case, we will see a fixed order quantity to start with. We'll have a time plot to plot the inventory. We'll have it refreshed a little bit faster. We'll see more samples throughout the time window, and we'll run the simulation for 30 seconds to simulate as if it is running for 30 days. We will define the initial values of these parameters. So we will define this parameter to have a value, initial value, that the volume by which this order will be, the inventory will be replenished. The daily demand will give a value. The inventory would be an initial inventory value, and in the generate order, we will then define it as a cyclic so that every second it runs and checks, it performs these tasks. We will bind this chart with the variable of inventory that we have declared, and we'll name this chart. Yeah, so I think we can run the simulation and let's see the output. So what we see over here is that as soon as the inventory falls below a certain threshold, it is replenished till by a fixed quantity of order. We see that this is a scenario of where the demand is considered to be fixed. However, we can change this to make the demand variable because the demand may vary. So what we do is that we declare the demand as being chosen from a normal distribution. So we see that how the normal distribution is defined. So we see that we have to define the variability of sigma of the demand and then the mean of demand. So we have to have a variable which is the mean demand and then the deviation of demand. We'll create two parameters. We declare it as a mean demand. We give a value of mean demand. And then we have a parameter of demand deviation. And we name it as a deviation of demand. And we give an initial value. So now we can define the normal distribution. The first one being the demand deviation and the second one being the mean of demand. And then this has to be, um, so we would take the demand as the as any value which is greater than 0. So the normal distribution may provide us a data. So when we saw the distribution chart, we see that the value may sometimes be negative below 0 if the mean if the deviation is huge. So we don't want the demand to go below or be negative. So we'll say that if it is negative, then we will make it 0. And then it may give us a fractional value. So we don't want the demand to be a fractional value. So we round it off. Now we will see how the inventory varies over time. So as we see that the inventory is not getting replenished, rather it is getting depleted. So something must be wrong where we were not able to replenish or execute this statement. So why it is because in the first place, when the demand was a fixed quantity, it was an exact multiplier of the order quantity being declared. So it was actually coming to 0. But here, as the demand is being varied within a normal distribution, it might not get to 0. So what we have to declare is either it's less or equals to 0. So now we should be seeing that the inventory being replenished. So we see that over time, the inventory is getting replenished. Here we are considering that the inventory is getting replenished immediately. But what can sometimes happen is that there would be a lead time from the source. So we have to consider the lead time as well. So what we can do is we will have a lead time variable, and then that variable will also be declared as from a normal distribution, taken from a normal distribution. So we'll declare the lead time likewise, and we'll have the deviation of the lead time and the mean of the lead time. And then we will have the lead time deviation and the mean parameters declared here as well. So this is dev lead time, and this is mean lead time. So what we want to intend to do is that we will have to generate or invoke or trigger this replenishment after that certain lead time. To implement that, what we will do is we will create another event, and then suppose we will say that this is an SQ policy, which will be invoked once the lead time or the order is received. So for that to happen, we have to have a variable called order received, which will be a Boolean variable denoting that the order after the lead time is received at the receiver end. So it will be a Boolean value, which will be like the no order has been received, defaulted to that. So what we will do here is that this replenishment activity, we will do it in this event, and we will invoke that event after the lead time. So the way to do that is to name that particular event, and then we'll say restart, and we'll say that it restarts after the lead time. Also, we will say that once this invocation is done, we'll say that the order has been received. And then we close this operation. And this order that we received, once this is replenished, we'll say that order is false. So that, again, if it places an order, it can generate. So for that condition to be fulfilled, we have also to check that if the order received is equals to false. So the way to check that is this way. So now we are good, and we should be able to see the same output. It's just that the demand replenishment will be triggered with a delay. Now we will introduce the KPIs such as the order fulfilled and the service level. So the service level would be a ratio of the order fulfilled versus the total order or the total demand. So there would be some shortage quantity, because now not every order will be fulfilled, but there would be some loss sales because there is a lead time for the material to come to the warehouses. So to calculate, we will have to have a variable called total sales. We'll have to have a variable of shortage quantity. So the sum of the shortage quantity and the total sales is the total um, orders that has come. And then we'll have a variable called service level, which will be a ratio of the total sales out of the total orders. We'll have an event to calculate these KPIs. We'll name the event as calculate KPI, and in the it will be a cyclic, so it will run for these many seconds, and we will say that if inventory is less than 0, then the shortage quantity would be declared in this way, and then the total sales, or maybe we can declare the total sales in this particular um, event only. We'll say that if inventory is greater than 0, that means we are able to satisfy the demand. We will have the total sales as equal to the demand, incremented by the demand. So now we will say that the service level is equals to the total sales plus 1 divided by that quantity itself plus the shortage quantity. And then we will multiply this ratio by 100 to get a percentage value. So to see these quantities or KPIs, we will have two more time plots to show the service level and the shortage quantity. I will define the variable of service level in this. We'll name the chart, and we will see for 30 seconds. And likewise, we will have the shortage quantities. We'll define the variable, and we will refresh for the same time period. For a S policy, what happens is that it does not check for the inventory to go actually less than 0, but it actually says that if it goes below a reorder point. So we will have the reorder point parameter defined over here, and we will have this value sum to some value, and then we will check in the event that if it is less than or equals to this value. Now we should see that since there is a lag in the lead time, there is some shortages and some service level drop. So what we see over here is that the service level has dropped to a certain value, and then there is some quantity of shortages. The shortage quantity is such, and then the service level also is close to 60%. To calculate the cost, we will also we will also declare some variables and parameters. So we will declare the holding cost. We'll declare the ordering cost. We'll declare the stock out cost or shortage cost. And we will have variables which will vary based on the number of inventory held in the storage, or the number of shortages, or the number of orders being placed. So we will declare the H for the holding cost, for ordering cost, and then the stock out costs. We'll calculate the holding cost based on the amount of inventory. So we'll say that H is equals to the inventory by 2. So this is the way the holding cost is being calculated, which is the inventory by 2 multiplied by the holding cost. And then we will calculate the order cost when the order is fulfilled. So here we will say that O is equals to the ordering cost. And the shortage cost we will calculate at the end. So we'll have another event to calculate the stock out cost, so that it calculate stock out. And we will just define it to happen once, where it will calculate the stock out cost, and it will multiply the number of shortages multiplied by the stock out costs. So we'll have to define the holding cost. So suppose the holding of one unit is $0.1, ordering cost is $10 for each unit, and the stock out cost is say $0.5 for each unit. Now to depict this ordering, the costs, we will have the costs calculated or shown. We'll say total cost. Calculate it based on these three values. You can have a bar chart also to show the total cost. So maybe this is ordering cost, and this is holding cost. This is stock out cost. So we see that the total cost is depicted over here, the shortage quantity, and then the service level. So what is the way that we can improve the service level? So right now it is at a 60, lower 60s, and shortage quantity is also a good amount. So out of all the orders, we have missed around 838 units out of the total 2000 orders. So what we can do is, there is a concept of taking safety stock. So in cases of where we have a lead time, to mitigate the risk of stock outs, we can keep safety stocks. Now, what would be the amount of safety stock? Because if we stock too much, then we have a risk of overstocking, and then amount get wasted, or there would be too much holding cost. So the way the safety stocks are calculated is that what is the service level that we want to achieve. So maybe 95% service level. So for 95% service level, the Z score is 1.65. So there are quite a few formulas. If demand varies and the lead time is constant, so the formula of safety stock is the Z multiplied by the deviation of demand multiplied by the square root of the lead time. So that means that our case, the Z score for 95% service level is 1.65, and the demand is deviation is this, and then the square root of 3, right? So this is the value of, and we will round it up. So the ROP is typically calculated as the mean demand multiplied by the lead time plus the safety stock. So here in our case, the mean demand is 80 multiplied by the lead time, which is 3 days, plus our safety stock is 52. So the total ROP is 292. And we have to also identify what is the amount of water that we can replenish with. So we had the order randomly defined as 400 units water quantity. Now we can actually see, based on the demand, mean demand, how much the EOQ should be. So the formula for EOQ is the square root of 2 multiplied by the demand within the simulation period. So my mean demand is 80, and then we are simulating it for 30 days. Ordering cost. So my ordering cost is 10, and then I divide that quantity by the holding cost for 30 days. So my holding cost is $1.1 and 30 days multiplied by 30. So this is 3. So this is my EOQ value within the for 1 day. So if my lead time is 3 days, then my total value is multiplied by 3 days. So this is close to round up of this value. So it's close to 3 or 1 days. So with this, we will update the order quantity as with this, and then the ROP that we calculated is 292. So let's see. Now, if we see that the total cost has reduced from 584 to 431, the service level has improved drastically to around 95%, and the storage quantity was also reduced. But still, there are some shortages. How can we improve? There is a concept of further improving the or adjusting the EOQ based on not only the mean demand but also considering the mean demand and the deviation of demand. So for our case, the deviation we considered, and then so this is the modified volume that we can order. So if we change this order quantity, we see that we have further improvement in the total cost. There is no shortages and the service level is at 100%. Now what we do is that this is the way we will define the continuous review, that is more or less fixed quantity model. So we have implemented this. Now we will see the continuous review target inventory based model, how to do that. So to do that, we have to have another event, say we name it SS, and this will get triggered in the same way that this is getting triggered. The way that this got triggered, we will have a relook at that, is that we checked if this relation is satisfied, condition is satisfied, then we'll have. So we'll have this another block. The same. Instead of doing this, maybe we can draw two other functions to check this. So with this function like SQ function, and then we'll have that another function called SS function, and then that condition we'll check over here. The same thing we will check over here, and then we will have this event to be triggered, and we'll have the three new variables. So the inventory, the ROP, and the order received. So these are the three variables that we will declare for the SS policy as well. So we'll delete this from here because we will be calling the functions here. And then we'll have the inventory calculated for SS policy. So we'll have a new inventory for SS. We'll have the ROP for SS, and we will have the order received for SS. So we'll name these two the variables that we have declared for the SS policy. In the SS policy, when we trigger this SS this particular event, we'll have to replenish till the target inventory. So target inventory will be the amount that we will be replenishing with. Since it's a target inventory based model, is that what is the target inventory minus what is my current inventory plus my demand deviation plus my mean lead demand multiplied by the lead time. So typically this is the target inventory way. This is the way we define a target inventory. So what we say is that target inventory is equals to my ROP1 minus my inventory, and then plus my mean demand plus my def demand multiplied by lead time. So this is my formula for replenishing the finding the target inventory. So we can define this target inventory, or typically we can have another variable which will store the inventory variable in this. So we'll say this SS inventory, and we will have the SS inventory store the inventory level. So we'll replenish till the SS inventory. And when we replenish here, we will replenish. So we'll copy from SKU. So on the same thing. So we will replenish by not the order quantity, which is a fixed value. Rather, we will replenish by the target inventory that we calculated over here. And then we will have the these ordering cost will create 3 new variables for calculating the costs for SS policy. So let us declare 3 more variables. And we'll name these things. And when we are calculating the KPIs, we'll say that the holding cost for the SS also is calculated in the same way. The ordering cost for SS also is calculated in the same way. And the stock out costs for SS is also calculated in the same way. We'll have to calculate the shortage quantity as well for SS policy. So the way we calculated, if we remember, that the shortage quantity, we in the same way we will declare the shortage quantity one. So we have to have a variable for shortage quantity. And we will calculate the KPI for shortage quantity 1. So this inventory that we are calculating, this has to also be depleted. So we'll go to the initial S policy, and then we'll deplete the inventory with the demand when we are satisfying it. And we have to likewise declare the total sales by the demand. So we'll have to declare the total sales, another variable for SS. And we also have to define the service level for SS policy. So the way that we have the service level defined for SK will have the same for the SS. So service level 1, the total sales 1, and shortage quantity 1. Now we plot another similar time plot for SS policy. We'll see that we plot the time inventory 1. We'll name or label this as SQ and SS. So we'll label this one as SQ, and we'll label the lower less SS policy. And we can calculate the total cost for the SS as well. So here we'll say the our one will say total cost SQ, and the lower one will say total cost of S. Probably we'll create this graphs in a separate window and have the other cost related thing in the same window. So we'll have the total cost declare move to here, and the graphs move to the bottom window. Okay. Similarly, we'll have need a bar graph of the total costs for SS policy as well. So here we will declare the ordering cost of the SS policies, and the total cost will also have to define the variables that is declared for SS policies. And we will also label these. Appropriately with the correct policy name. For these charts of service level, we can plot both the service levels. So we'll say service level of SQ and service level of SS. And for the shortage quantity, we can say SQ and shortage quantity of SS. To view into these into different windows, what we can do is we can have a view area taken from this particular palette, two different view areas. We can have this view areas slightly down, and then we can say that there would be a button between which we can toggle between these two views. So we can say that this is view um, analytics, and we'll have another which will take us to the logic views. So we have to name these views as well. We can say that this is a view for analytics and this is the view for logic. And what we do is that while we click on this, we want to navigate to so view analytics dot navigate to. We want it to be defined in the on click. So on click of that text, it will take to this analytics page, and then similarly we want to see the view logic with the click of that particular button or the text. So we see that the costs are getting calculated, and then if we go to the analytics view, we'll see how these two replenishment policies are behaving. We also have not touched the way to define the TQ and TS policy. So T is the periodic review where we replenish the inventory after a fixed period. To define the fixed period, we can have a parameter declared over here, which is the fixed period. And we can say it is triggered after 5 periods, and we'll have an event inventory policy, and maybe we can rename this event as S inventory policy. So S inventory and T inventory policies. This would be also it's a cyclic process which triggers after T periods. Here what we will do is that we will say that the inventory, so we will have another inventory for T, this maybe 2, which is getting replenished by the fixed order quantity. And so this is the TQ policy. The ordering cost would be O2 is ordering cost, right? So it is every time the replenishment happens with the order quantity, it is the ordering cost the ordering cost increases. And for TS policy, we'll have a target inventory. So we will define a parameter, the target inventory. And we will define some value for the target inventory. And we'll say that that inventory is getting replenished by the target inventory amount. So we'll say that this is another inventory quantity which gets replenished with the current target inventory minus the current inventory. So this is the TES policy, and then it will have its own ordering cost. Now, since we have defined this, we will have two more inventory as we have defined here. So inventory 1 will have two more inventory, inventory 2 and inventory 3. So inventory 2 is for TQ and inventory 3 is for TS. We'll calculate the holding costs. And we'll calculate, we'll declare the holding costs here. So the way we have declared the holding cost, we'll declare two more holding costs. So this will be H2 and H3. We'll have the inventory 2 and inventory 3, and then it will be done. Similarly, service level will be calculated, and we'll have to have a total the service level 2 and service level 3, the total sales 2 and total sales 3. And we have to declare all these other variables that we have not yet declared. And we have to calculate these also for T target inventory. So for this, we have to have the inventory checked. This way, have to use this inventory, and we have to, what else? We also need to deplete the inventory as and when the demand is coming. So we have to say that inventory 2 and inventory 3, and then we have to also check the total sales, and we'll say that it is inventory 2, inventory 3. We'll have to have the total sales, and we'll declare these total sales, the shortage quantity, the service level, the two more sets for TQ and TS. So this is done, and then we'll have to have the graphs also declared likewise. So let's adjust them, have the levels placed properly. So we'll have the TQ graph here as well, and TS graph here as well. And then we'll say this is TQ and this is TS. And yeah, likewise we'll add or update these graphs with service level of TQ and TS. So this is service level TQ with so, this is shortage quantity, sorry. So shortage quantity TQ we have defined, and then shortage quantity T3 TS shortage quantity 3, and then we will define the service level as service level and 1. This 2 will define as service level T underscore Q of the definition. And we will also want to update the bar charts. I mean, add the bar charts for the particular TQ and TS costs as well. So we'll say, we'll adjust a bit here, add two more bar charts. So this will be the TQ, and this will be TS. We'll have the proper variables declared. So And also we'll declare the total costs, two more costs for TQ and TS. For TQ, the total cost would be for TS. Declare this as H2 is 2. Declare H3 minus 3. Okay. The service level over here will say service level. This is service level 1. Yes, service level 2. Service level 3. In this case, as we see that we have the SS policy, which is having the least cost with a good amount of service level. So maybe we can decide with these parameters how we want to, which policy we would want to go with. Because if we are going with SQ, maybe it has a slightly higher service level, but then the cost is also increasing. The TQ and TS policies are also a bit costly. One more thing what we can do is that we can actually can have the ROPs calculated dynamically. So here we did ROP declare as a constant value. Instead, we can have the ROPs generated within the S inventory policy itself, where we can say that the ROP is equals to mean demand multiplied by the lead time plus the dev demand plus the Z multiplied by the dev demand multiplied by the square root of lead time. This is the standard formula. So for this, we have to declare the Z parameter. We'll say this as Z, and then we'll have the value of 1.65 for service level of for service level of 95%. So we will declare the ROP for SS policy as well in the same way. So for SS policy, it will be the mean demand then multiplied by the lead time with the Z, with the dev demand, or the demand deviation with the square root of the lead time. So let's now run and let's see how it behaves with a recalculated ROP. So we see that the SS policy is still the best one. Now we'll take a use case where the mean demand is the 200, the standard deviation is 40. So let's do that. We'll have the mean demand as 200 and the standard deviation of demand is 40. And the lead time is 3 days. So we have the lead time as 3 days. And then we'll have the fixed replenishment days of 5. So for the T inventory policy, we have 5 days. And then the order quantity of 1000 units. So this order quantity, the fixed order quantity would be 1000 units. And then the target inventory for the T policy will have 1000 units. Yeah, anyway, we have 1000. And then we have declared this, we will declare the target inventory for this policy with this. I think we already declared it. So when we are calling the SS, we are calculating the target inventory likewise. And also the initial inventory level as 1200. So let's define the initial inventory if 1200 is the value. We'll have the inventory values initialized with 1200. So let's see. with this configuration, what is the output? So we see that the S policy has slightly lower costs with a fixed quantity of higher service level. The T policy with fixed quantity has higher cost with the same service level. The fixed period target inventory has lower costs, definitely. So this periodic, the fixed quantity but target inventory based are performing better in terms of costs with a compromised service level. So this is now on the managers if they want to go with SS policy and compromise slightly on the service level, or they want to go with 100% service level. So this is how, this is one case. Now we will have another product whose demand have these following characteristics, where the mean daily demand is 120 units. So we'll have the 120 units, and the standard deviation is 40. So 40 units, and then the lead time is 3. The fixed linear replenishment period is 7 days, and we have the order quantity units as 900. And the target inventory 1000, which is there. Then the ROP is still the same, and the initial inventory is 1000. I guess it was already 1000. Okay, this is it was 1200, so we'll change the initial inventory quantities to thousands. And we'll see. So when we see that for a different product, again, the SS policy is behaving well with a much lower cost, slightly compromised service level that's compared to the fixed period models. Now let us consider that the lead time has changed from 3 days to 6 days because of some natural calamity. So the mean lead time has changed from 3 to 6 days. So let's see what happens. So we see that the T policies are not affected, but the SS policy is not now the best policy because in terms of the cost, maybe the SQ policy is better in terms of both the cost as well as the service level. So the S policy was better when the demand did not change, the lead time did not change, but it is pretty sensitive. It seems to be pretty sensitive to the lead time. So maybe it is not the best policy, though it is still within the service level and have a slightly lower cost than the fixed periodic review policies, but it is more sensitive to the changes in lead time. We can also see that if the lead time suddenly changes after 10 days. So suppose instead of the lead time mean lead time changing directly from 3 to 6 in the initial period, we will see that if it changes in between. So let's run that. Let it run for say let's say 10 seconds. So now we don't have a way to actually play with this parameter. We cannot change it here. So it would be better for us if we can have the sliders so that the user controls the values of these parameters runtime. So what we will do is now we'll define the sliders over here. So we have to readjust this a bit, tidy this up a bit. This is a bit not in order. So let me put this in order. Now we'll have a slider from the space. We'll have a slider, and we'll link this each of them to the parameters that we want to change. So maybe this we want to change the mean lead time, and maybe we want to change the demand also on the fly, the other example that we saw. So, and maybe the lead time we will have a minimum value of say 2 days to 7 days. We'll have the mean demand between 100 to 300. Say after 10 days, the lead time changes, mean lead time changes from 3 to say 6 days, right? And then again we run this entire period. So we see that when the mean lead time changes in between, so here we see that the SQ policy has performed not so well in terms of the service level, but the cost is also minimal. So this gives us a good indication that if the lead time varies in between, then the service level of the SQ policy actually deteriorates. Now we will see another scenario where there is a slight demand increase after 10 days. We will see that how the different policies behave when the demand changes in between. So suppose after 10 days, this demand becomes around 250. And we'll still see that the S policy is having the lower cost with a above 90% service level, whereas the fixed periods are not performing that well in terms of the service level. So this is on the leadership to take a decision on which policy to include. We'll take another scenario where the lead time, where the parameters are defined in this way. So let's see, the mean demand is 80, the standard deviation is 10, or yeah, 10, and then the lead time is 3 days. So mean lead time is 3, and then the fixed replenishment is 9 days. And then the order quantity is 900. And then the target inventory is 800. And then the S target inventory is calculated likewise, and initial inventory is 800. Now when we run this, and we see that the SS policy is best because it has the least cost with a acceptable service level. If we see the inventory of these different policies, we see that the holding inventory for the SQ policy is 172. For the S policy, the 2224, and the TQ policy is 1072, whereas the TS policy is 573. So the TQ policy has the highest inventory holding. So what we see that the TQ policy is holding much higher average inventory. What we can do is either we increase the ROP or reduce the ordering quantity. So the order quantity we will reduce from 900 to 700 and see what is the impact. We see that the TS policy, there is no change. So we can we'll compare here what is the performance when we reduce the order quantity. So with the reduction of the order quantity, we see that the performance of the periodic review fixed quantity, that is TQ, has improved in the price, and it is quite performing in the same service level. But there is no change in the TS performance. Also, we observe one thing that there seems to be slightly more shortages with the SS policy and the service level for which it is low. We'll see if we can increase the ROP or the target inventory and how will it affect the S policy. So what we will do is the S target inventory where we are calculating. So we'll see that instead of the mean demand, we'll multiply this with 1.5 with the mean demand. And let's see what would be the impact of raising the target inventory for the SS policies. So we see that there is a significant improvement in the service level of the SS policy, with the SS policy having still the best policy having the least cost. So in this way, we experimented that if we increase the target inventory for SS policy, it is improving the shortages.